All right, everyone, welcome to another video from my kitchen, my other kitchen. Yes, that's right, but that will be changing pretty soon here. Actually, my parents are coming over on Thursday, so I'm going to have to move all this stuff upstairs because my computer is currently sitting on the kitchen table here where I've been working for the last week or so. But anyways, today's video is another episode of my Alliance War 101 series, and I know I haven't done this in a couple of weeks now because honestly I've just been a little bit bored of Alliance War. Believe it or not, I just haven't been caring as much. I've been a lot more casual about it, but I want to bring some tips to you guys, and specifically in this episode I want to talk about why building Alliance War teams is trash. And what I mean by this is I mean characters and teams that are specifically related to Alliance War. This means like teams like Heroes for Hire, Shadowlands, other characters who really only function in the Alliance War game mode. There have been others, of course, and we'll talk about those, but I want to go over why you don't need to do this, because there's plenty of other ways that you can build valuable teams without having to go really hard in on those Alliance War teams specifically. So that's what we're talking about in today's video. So without further ado, let's get this show started. Alright, and to start things off, we're just going to be zooming into my position in Alliance War on defense, and admittedly, I do have some war-only teams here. Specifically, we have some very minorly built Heroes for Hire. You know, they're tier 12, and then we have some, I might be cutting this off a little bit, but there is some Mercs Taskmasters here. Again, not really solidly built. You might notice that I don't really have any orange gear into any of these characters. I do have tier 13 into Colleen Wing. The only reason why I did that is because I had a crap ton of skill gear, I think, and I just decided to do it. But I didn't really go much further than that. Now, in terms of the Sinister Six, who is arguably also a war team, is Doc Ock at tier 15, but I do love Doc Ock standalone. But if you notice, for everyone else, they are gear tier 12. So I haven't really invested any orange gear into a lot of these war characters. That's kind of part of the beginning point here that I wanted to make, is that you can make valuable teams without having to invest a significant amount of gold into it. I think the teams that probably have the most sort of the best investment at early stages, I would say, is Heroes for Hire, because they're the newest. But you can get by with like a tier 12, you know, level 70 team and still have about 350 to 400k, and they'll still be annoying to other players. Maybe not so as like a 600k team, but realistically, once you start getting into about the tier 14 orange gear range, you're really wasting a lot of resources by going into these war specific teams. Now, I do have currently Infinity Watch on my defense, sitting at a whopping almost 800k actually with war buffs. I do have this weird mix Wave 1 Avengers because I had to take out Black Widow. I also decided to take out Hawkeye because without Black Widow I thought she was kind of he was kind of trash. And I put in Coulson because I'm using Fury on the offense for the moment. As of now, I know with patch 5.5 coming around the corner with potentially more shield characters and shield reworks, this is probably going to change. But my point is that I haven't overly invested in war defense characters. Probably the ones I've invested in the most would be Emma Frost, but I do think that Emma Frost stands alone from this because she has a lot of valuable, she is very valuable outside of Alliance War, and that's what I meant to say there. In game modes like Dark Dimension and Arena at the time, even though we've kind of bypassed the Emma Frost hybrid meta at this point, but she did have a lot of solid credentials there. Strife, I don't know why I actually took him to 14. I don't think it was specifically for war defense. I think I tried to do something funny with him in Dark Dimension 3 and it didn't work out too well. So I don't recommend taking Strife to tier 14 now. This was just something I decided to do at the time. So I just kind of wanted to show you that a lot of my teams that I'm currently using on war defense are actually not teams that are war specific necessarily. You know, you have your Black Order, and Black Order is an interesting one. Just like Infinity Watch, you can either use them on the defense or the offense. And then I have Sinister Sixes are okay. I do have a couple. Pimtech is a weird one. I don't know why I have them geared. Maybe I thought that I needed that for Jubilee. Decided to put them on defense, and they're about 440k. And so I don't really go hard on Alliance War defense typically. But the reason for that, and we're gonna have to actually go into my roster to really showcase showcase this, is that when you really break it down, what teams that are available for war defense and what is available for the current meta, there are plenty of teams available that you could actually use that aren't specifically war teams. That way you get a broader investment in these characters that are useful in other game modes, specifically not just war. And that's what I want to talk about in this sort of second part of the video as well. So let's jump on over to my roster. So this is probably the most important part of the video, I would say, and a lot of this is in the context of what we're soon going to be experiencing, which is level 85, gear tier 16. So, you know, it's really hard, I think, especially if you're free to play and if you're a light spender. You know, if you're a Kraken, you're probably not watching my videos anyways or care what I have to say. But, you know, for people like me and for others like me, you know, who don't have a ton of resources coming in or spending a lot of money, you know, you really need to be specific about what you invest in, whether it's for gold, whether it's for gear or otherwise. And again, in that context of level 85 and the level cap increasing, we really need to consider, can we devote these resources to war characters or war teams? And you know, the quick answer is no, we shouldn't, because we don't have all of that much extra resources to devote to that, because if you do, you're going to fall behind elsewhere. And to kind of really illuminate this, is there are a couple of people in my alliance who admittedly go really hard into teams like Mercs or Asgardians or Shield, or more recently Heroes for Hire, and these characters, these players on my alliance, they're okay in Doom Raid, but they're not performing as well as some other players because they invested these resources into these characters who don't perform well outside of Alliance War. And that's kind of part of the point that I'm trying to get to you guys, is that I don't think is overly worth it. Now, let's consider some of the more recent teams. And I might have to bring up my character spreadsheet to help illuminate this point further. But this past patch, I really don't like that saying. Anyways, we had Infinity Watch, right? And let's do that. So Infinity Watch here, and they're a really powerful team. Now, what's great about Infinity Watch is they're a highly meta team. Not only are they awesome in Arena, but they are very good in Alliance War. So this is a great example of a team that is usable elsewhere, and characters who are also you know, usable elsewhere. You know, Doom Raid for Gamora and Moondragon and Nebula you could use in Tech if you really want to, and Adam Warlock for Mystic. And so these are characters that are widely applicable elsewhere in the game, but are very, very solid in Alliance War, whether it's war offense or war defense. I do like this flexibility. You know, they really kick the crap out of Heroes for Hire and basically any other team that exists right now. But they're also a very solid war defense team, which means that they would need, someone else would need to probably pump up a really high hybrid team, or they would need to use an Infinity Watch to counter that as well. They're kind of like the new Black Order, and that's another team that I want to kind of pivot to as well. I know that Thanos doesn't have the tag, and that's really annoying. But anyways, this showcases it as well. So you notice that I did have my Black Order on defense. Some people, and a lot of people, do use them on offense. Actually, I'm probably one of the few people who do put them on defense still, but that still makes people required to use their Black Order to beat my Black Order, or an Infinity Watch, which admittedly can punch up quite a bit, so maybe I'll take them back for offense. But my point is that they're flexible, right? And they were the former Arena meta prior to Infinity Watch. So there's these teams, especially highly Arena meta teams, who are very valuable also in Alliance War because of how strong they are. So you can build these teams that aren't Alliance War specific, but perform very, very well in these game modes. So, you know, my point about this really is that, do you need to build these war specific teams? Because you're not actually going to get a wide range of applicability with them as you would, say, an Arena team or even a Raid team. So let's talk about Astonishing X-Men. That's another one that I kind of wanted to talk about here. So I use Astonishing X-Men for Alliance War offense because I do think that they're very good. Some people have used a mixed defense team with Astonishing X-Men with Jubilee, Beast, and Bishop, I think, and then using something silly like Doom and Kestrel or something like this. You know, that you could do that, right? You know, it's possible. I think really the main three are probably Jubilee, Beast, and Bishop. I don't know if Iceman and Kitty have a ton of use anyways outside of raids, because a lot of their text specifically impacts raids. Their survivability is a bit on the lower side as well compared to these three, so I can see that being a thing. But my main point is that they're great in Alliance War as well. Whether or not you want to put them on offense or defense, it doesn't really matter. They're flexible because of how they are, and you know, that makes them a really good investment, because not only are you getting a solid raid team, whether it's for Ultimus or Doom Raid, you're also getting a team for Alliance War. So you see where I'm kind of getting at this. We'll get to another one of mine. Another favorite of mine is Symbiotes. Again, another team that I built up because of the Dark Dimension, Ultimus Raids, and Doom Raid now. Again, another great team for Alliance War offense. You probably could put them on the defense. I don't know how high you would need, or how high of a team you would need to counter them necessarily. I know Brotherhood 2.0, for those who might still have them at a high level, can up punch against them, and X-Force, I think, might be able to do it as well. But you get my point, is that these are teams that are built for other purposes aside from Alliance War, but are widely applicable outside of it. So these are the types of teams that you should be investing in. Screw Alliance War teams only. Now, specifically, that means Heroes for Hire. That was the more recent one. So screw Heroes for Hire. I don't have the gear or the gold to invest. Okay, I say that. I got 70, 70, 70. These were already pre-70 before the Heroes for Hire, so don't blame me on Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Calling Wing and Misty Knight were very, very minor investments I made, 65, just to get them on my team. But I don't plan on going further than this. You know, 6664. I think I do have a T4 in Calling Wing. Yeah, I do on the passive. But other than that, I don't plan on really going much more, because I don't want to spend the gold. You know, to go to tier 14, I'd have to go to 75, which would cost me, what, another 2 million gold that I really don't want to spend, because I want to save towards level 85. And again, that's the really important fact, guys, is that we are moving towards a new meta of a level 85 gear tier 16. Do we have the gold? Do you have the gold to, you know, put it towards these characters, when you have to be thinking of characters like your Arena team, your Doom Raid teams? You know, there's at least 25 characters there with Doom Raid and Arena that you will want to consider, maybe 30 actually combined, that you'll want to consider leveling up and gearing up for your sort of your daily content, right? So is Alliance War something that happens 3 times a week? Is that something that you should be investing in? Personally, I don't think so. Now, I'll talk about Shadowlands really quick, because I did actually build them a little bit. I did fall into this trap slightly, mostly for Night Nurse though. And admittedly, I did actually get a lot of use out of Night Nurse for Dark Dimension 4 City, for the skill raid, Doom Raid that I'm still using her in, for the moment anyways, and so I don't actually regret this at all. But if you look at some of the other characters for Shadowland, I did invest some T4s, okay, I did. The special and the passive for Daredevil, and I think, no, I didn't do anything on Lecture actually. White Tiger, special, passive, and Moon Knight, I probably did 2 here as well, and I did. So I did invest a fair bit into this, but I kind of did that knowingly. I knew I was kind of like throwing my resources out a little bit here, and I enjoy playing them. You know, Shadowlands is a really great war offense team, but aside from Night Nurse, none of the other characters have any wider applicability anywhere in the game, and so that's why it's just really hard, I think, to invest these kind of resources in characters that aren't going to take you much further than that. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to kind of, you know, showcase with you guys. There are standalone characters which are perfectly fine to build, characters like Dr. Doom, who again aren't war characters, but they, you know, they slot in quite fine in Alliance War. There's plenty of characters that aren't Alliance War specific, but are still very valuable in Alliance War because of their kit. Another one is actually going to be Kestrel. Silver Surfer, obviously, very, very, very strong characters who admittedly will just work wonders in Alliance War regardless of, you know, the fact that they don't have any Alliance War specific characters. Now, I will say again, like I said earlier, Doc Ock and Sinister Six is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, so I do this knowingly, especially with the rest of my Sinister Six. I did build them up close to level 80. Now, I didn't go the extra way and take them to the orange gear tier, but I may in the future, but that's because I know I'm doing it. I know it's probably not the best idea, but I love Sinister Six, so there is this sort of, you know, me loving a certain character or a certain team that'll make me bring it up regardless of how good or bad they are. The same thing happened to Squirrel Girl because I had 7 red Squirrel Girl. Yeah, I know Squirrel Girl's not great, but, you know, I did it anyways, and maybe I'll find a use for her. Actually, I am using her in Alliance War offense, and I have beaten Heroes for Hire teams with her in a hybrid, believe it or not, but that's for another video in another time. Characters like Emma Frost, again, I mentioned this as well. She has some solid standalone potential, but because of her kit actually, and the fact that it's mutant villains specifically and not a team, I think that she might have some wider applicability across the board with other characters when they come out, so that's fine there. But the wider Marauders at this point, Sinister's okay, Sinister and Emma's okay, but beyond that, I think at this point it's a bit bad. Other Asgardians, again, kind of bad outside of Hela. You know, you can see how there's other characters not worth your investment, but there are a couple of, you know, standalone characters. Baron Zemo admittedly is a war character, but he has a very solid kit. very useful. I don't need to explain why he's good. So there are a couple characters from time to time who are war characters who have war kits in them, but they are very good outside of their mode. But when it comes to the standalone characters, I'm thinking obviously specifically the Heroes for Hire, even the Skilletary, they don't really have a wider applicability outside of Red Guardian. I would say probably has the most applicability in Doomraid's skill. Aside from that, I don't think off the top of my head that Punisher's really not that great. Black Widow maybe because of the new rework, but aside from that, I think Red Guardian is probably the only main one, and otherwise they're mainly a war offense team as well. So, be careful when it comes to investing in these sort of war characters, especially war-specific characters, because you might not get a lot of use out of them outside of their game mode, and that's the most important thing that you want to consider. When it comes to investing in a new character, especially when your resources are limited, make sure that you're really considering this deeply, because if you're not getting a lot of use out of them in the wider game, then it just feels bad kind of gearing them up to gear tier 14 or 15 or whatever, however high you happen to take them. X Factor is also another one that I want to briefly mention. However, due to the fact that you need them for Adam Warlock, this is reasonable that you might need to take them to tier 14 to get 7-star Adam Warlock in the future. So I haven't done it yet for Multiple Man and Polaris, but I suspect later down the line I might have to do this. But, in the beginning, it wasn't something that you had to do as well. So, TLDR, be careful when it comes to, gearing and investing in war-specific teams. Heroes for Hire, Shadowland, Skilletary, those are the main ones more recently. Characters like She-Hulk standalone, I guess you could say that, because she really doesn't have any applicability outside of Alliance War. That's all off the top of my head, really. But know that there will be some in the in the patches to come, because they love to throw a curveball at you. They love to kind of release this really what seems to be a very crazy war team, but really it's just a distraction to try and take your resources from you, so you don't have any resources or as much resources for when it actually counts. And in this case, it's for level 85, gear tier 16 on the horizon. They want you to spend all of your resources to sort of distract you from that coming, and then leave you with nothing left, so that you'll spend more money and that you'll buy more offers. Now, unless you're someone like me who doesn't really spend, I'll just sit there crying in a corner and hope that I have more gold. And so that's where I'm sitting at right now. I plan on hoarding my gold, not going towards any Alliance War teams at this point, because really, at the end of the day, guys, whether or not you win war or not, it really doesn't matter. And I didn't want to sit here, having my freaking load bar. And to really prove that is the difference between winning and losing is very minor. So I don't think that people should be investing in war teams, because it just doesn't matter in the game as much anymore. And so to really showcase this, I mean, again, you can go into the rewards section. 175k for a victory, 105k for a loss. It's like 70k difference. You get the same T4s. You get ABCs really don't matter anymore. Trust me, I got like 4,400. You get so much of this now. Purple gear is not really a crunch anymore, and very minor differences on the credits. So at the end of the day, guys, it pushes you towards a 50% win rating in Alliance War anyways. Don't invest in war teams. Please, if you want to save your resources for something else that will impact you more, raid teams, especially Doom Raid characters, that's going to be more important moving forward, and I think the best use of your time, gold, and gear. That's the end of this video, guys. Just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up on this. Hopefully you guys learned from this. If you didn't already, it sounds pretty obvious, but really some people really get baited into building war teams, and I don't blame you. I've done it from time to time, but do you understand that that's going to take resources away from what you might have for someone else? That's the end of this video, guys. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see y'all later. Wayland signing out.